I had a 13 stone on my left kidney.
13
13
that's huge.
13 is huge. So my mother asked me one question that, why do you want to marry a teacher? I said that, if I marry a teacher, I have some advantage. 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow.
To train for my ultras, I used to run for 7 hours on Saturday nights regularly.
Wow.
Because from the age of 53 to 59, I was running ultras. I said, I have a plan. In the age of 59, I want to do the top 3 full marathons
Of Asia.
in Asia. 1 month of training, 7 to 8 kilometers, that's all. And I attempted 42K. That was how stupid I was at that time. He said, Bhagwan ने मुझको भेजा है इस दुनिया में आपको बचाने के लिए. A doctor certificate. I said, I can't run. So I want to sell my bib.
Right, it's
now
genuine.
you have some funny rule that it's there. I kept on saying racial discrimination. And 60% of the time I don't listen to the doctors.
नमस्ते और स्वागत है आपका वामुस क्लब के पॉडकास्ट में। आज हमारे साथ हैं संजय बानर्जी सर, जो कि भोपाल से हैं और एक प्रसिद्ध माउंटेनियर, रनर और लेखक भी हैं। संजय सर ने अपने सफ़र में नई नई ऊंचाइयों को छुआ है और अपने एक्सपीरियंसेस को किताबों के रूप में हम सबके साथ शेयर भी किया है। माउंट किलिमंजारो की टॉप तक पहुंचकर उन्होंने अपने जुनून और अपनी प्रेरणाओं को प्रकट भी किया है और दिखाया है कि हम कोई भी गोल चाहे कितना भी ऊंचा हो उसे हासिल कर सकते हैं अगर चाह है तो राह है। चाहे आप एक माउंटेनियरिंग के प्रेमी हैं, फिटनेस के एंथुजियास्ट हैं या फिर सिर्फ रोमांचक कहानियों में दिलचस्प रखते हैं, ये बातचीत आपको इंस्पिरेशन और नॉलेज से भर देगी। चलिए शुरू करते हैं। वेलकम टू संजय बैनर्जी सर।
How did you start running marathons from the age of 48? There's an interesting story behind that. I had a 13 stone on my left kidney.
13
13
that's huge.
13 is huge. Suddenly it happened. I did, stone basically you don't know. Then suddenly you get a lot of pain. It's something like getting appendicitis.
Yeah, exactly.
And all that.
Sharp
When I was
pain.
taken it happened around 11 o'clock in the night. I was taken, hospitalized. And next day I was told they're going to operate and all that. So it was successful. They removed the stone. They used a process called lithotripsy. So basically they didn't operate. There was some sound
Put something
machine
in.
and all that, and that vibrated and it broke and all
it
that.
down.
But still, it was slightly painful. And after that operation, the physician told me that, what do you do for
Physical
exercise?
workout.
So I told him, you won't believe it. So sir, tell me. He said, I set a record in the Dune school in cross country, which stood for 30 years.
Wow.
It was when I was in 10th standard. I ran the seniors cross country. It was around 5 kilometers those days. And I won the race. I stood first. And that record stood for 30 years in school. And after 30 years, I came back to the school, Dune school, and met the boy who broke the record. That boy's name was Justin Barrett. And his father was the deputy headmaster in the Dune school.
Wow.
So basically, in school, I was on to, it was called apparatus. And then I was into cross-country running. I got my athletic colors there. I was, at that time, the first schoolboy to compete with police and the army. And I came third in a 9-kilometer race in Dehradun district sports.
Wow.
I remember when I was completing that race, it was held in RIMC, Rashtriya Indian Military School. So when I was finishing that race, I came third. The first guy was a army guy. Second fellow also from the police. So amazing thing, I felt I was winning the Olympic gold medal. The entire city was, cheering for me.
Behind you, yeah.
The fellow kept on announcing that young boy, 15 years old, coming third. So that was how I got inculcated into marathon running and ultramarathon running late in life.
Right.
And there were so many other things like, gymnastics I didn't pursue. Then I was on to, I did a little bit of boxing also there, took part in all the things, football, cricket in school.
Which is
and
one
all
of the
that.
benefits of a boarding school.
Boarding
You get
school
to
and all that.
try out
Extracurricular
everything.
activities also. Then I got the bronze in Duke of Edinburgh Awards. I got the bronze medal and the silver medal. And because I was the last batch in 1976 doing the ISC. So if I had done the 10+2, then I could have probably got the gold medal of the Duke of Edinburgh also. Because you needed that extra year, so I couldn't do that. And this is how I basically got inculcated into so many other things in life and all that. These were the 3 things. Then there's so many other things.
Adding to the gene pool.
Yeah. Everything happened and all that. So then they said, okay, we'll think about it and all that. So they asked me, my parents. So I said, I'm cool. So nothing wrong with
Cool.
that. And yeah, I'm cool. So she was in a teaching profession. So I said, yeah, that's very cool because I always wanted to marry a teacher. So my mother asked me one question that, why do you want to marry a teacher? I said that, if I marry a teacher, I have some advantage. Basically, I can concentrate on whatever I want to do in life and my wife looks after my kid.
Yeah,
She's a teacher.
because she's already used to dealing
She
with kids.
used to dealing with kids,
patients,
so
everything.
I am a little free. I don't have to concentrate too much about my kid, about his studies and all that.
Right.
About that time, whether it was any kid. So
You don't have to
son or
spend a lot
daughter.
of effort educating yourself
educating
about
my
how to deal
kid
with
and
the-
all that. So that was the thing. That's a little selfish approach in life. But still, that was the way
It's
I
a
thought.
partnership. You're
it's a partnership
thinking
and
of
all
it
that.
like strengths and
so-
weaknesses.
No, what you said, something is very important, partnership, because my wife told me after my son was born in 1991, she told me I'm quitting my job as a teacher because I want to look after our son. So I said, that's great. She asked me, do you have a problem with that? I said, not at all. I'm very happy. And I think I'm earning okay. I don't say I'm earning a lot, but I'm earning okay for the family.
Not to worry.
They're not to worry about it and all that. So she said, okay, fine. But that was one of the wisest decision, as you said, in a partnership we took, because of that, my son did well in whatever he did, whether it was education or other things, extracurricular activities. He was also involved in a lot of other activities and all that.
Right.
Even while in college, he started a students magazine and all.
Wow.
So all those things. So it was a good decision we took. And as for a very fruitful married life, no problems at all. And she was so positive oriented. I would say that Doon School, I've given a lot of credit till now that, Doon School was there. But there was another important thing. It's because of the encouragement I received from my wife that I am what I am now. Incredible partnership we had. She said for everything, ultra marathon running is something where you have to train. And mind you, I was doing a regular 9 to 5 job. I had to run 3 times a week. On Saturday nights, I used to run from 12 midnight to 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow.
To train for my ultras, I used to run for 7 hours on Saturday nights regularly.
Wow.
Because from the age of 53 to 59, I was running ultras. Whatever
Right.
ultras I ran. And I was on to running 42 kilometers regularly. So this takes, unless your partner is
Supportive.
it's very difficult to do that.
Impossible.
So impossible. It's literally impossible. And because, some of my relatives became a little
Worried.
against me and worried also. They said that, what the hell are you doing here? You're doing a job, you are running ultramarathon running, and your wife is worried. She doesn't sleep at night on Saturday. So I told my wife, you relax at night here. So I basically used to lock the door, when I go out. So I said that I'll come back early morning anyway at 7 o'clock. So I'll unlock the
Right,
door.
yeah.
You don't worry, you sleep well. I'm getting a call at 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm completing about 50 kilometers.
Everything okay?
Yeah, are you okay? Are you okay? I said, yeah, chill out here. Don't worry. I'm inside the campus. Nothing will happen.
Right.
Security guards around me, everything. Don't worry. So we had a lovely campus where I used to train in
Satna.
Satna. So we had a 3-kilometer campus. So I used to keep running,
There's
going
like
It was
a
a
loop
round
in
of
the
3
camp.
kilometers.
around
Like
and
one
round
loop was
and
3
round.
kilometers.
So you imagine if you are doing 50 kilometers, how many circles I have to do?
Yeah.
3-kilometer loop. So it was cool. And so that was it. So I got a lot of support from my wife and all that. Also, I got a lot of support from my management, senior management. Senior management, when I'm talking about the top management, the managing director, so he got pretty impressed by me. So I was working in the commercial department. He said, what are you doing in commercial department here? He shifted me, created a department for me called corporate image. He said that you basically make documentary films about our organization and you are our brand ambassador.
Wow.
So he called me and he asked me when around 56, 57, what do you want to do in life? Anything special in running other than ultras? I said, I have a plan. In the age of 59, I want to do the top 3 full marathons
Of Asia.
in Asia. So that is basically the Mumbai Marathon, the Singapore Marathon, and the Kuala Lumpur Marathon.
Wow.
So he said, go ahead, I'll sponsor you. So as a test case, I did the Kuala Lumpur Marathon because that's the first time I was running a marathon outside India. I did it successfully within the time limit. So he said, I told him, sir, I'm ready at the age of 59. He said, go ahead. I ran all three. It's not very easy to, at the age of 59, to run 3 full marathons in the same year.
Right.
Even the people who win gold medals in the Olympics, even they don't run more than 2 or 3 marathons at that caliber.
They typically do one race.
Yeah, just one or
even
two
that is
races,
like
max
maybe
2
1 or
races
2
in a year.
years. Yeah,
so I
max.
was running 3 full marathons, and one in January, one in September, and one in end November. Because there was just 3 months gap between.
Then you said you suffered from you had a stone. That how old were you when that happened?
That time I was 47 years old.
47. So tell us what happened after that.
Yeah. So after the stone, the physician told me that, are you on to running? He said, what do you want to do as a physical activity? I said, I was on to running both in school and college. In college, by the way, I didn't mention this earlier. In college, I had the individual championship for 3 years running in my BSc. First year, second year, third year. Winning the 800 meters, the 1500 meters, and the 5000 meter race, and the 10,000 meters race.
Wow.
For 3 years running, I won the individual championship in college.
Wow, very commendable.
Yeah. So this was the reason. And now coming to the stone part, that physician told me, okay, though running is good, so continue with running. So I said, okay, I'll
But
continue
since
with
college till that age, you had not been doing too
then,
much.
after I got into corporate, I started my job at a relatively young age of, I think, 21, just after doing my graduation.
Right.
I got into a job. Then I continued. There was no physical activity, basically a couch potato.
No, but you were also studying all the time, right? You
And I was
did
studying
10,
all the
12
time. So I was
years
very
of
busy
courses
actually.
all the time.
Evening
So you didn't leave any
classes
time
and all.
for any...
3 of my qualifications were after
And then your son was born in
graduation.
that
Son was
time
born.
also.
You know, moving around in so many different jobs
Right.
and all those things and all. So I ran, the funny thing is, again, in life, people start with a 10K, they progress to a half marathon, that is 21K, and then a marathon. The first race I ran after being a couch potato for so many years was a full marathon.
Wow.
And with just not much training. So that was a bad experience for me in terms of physical endurance, because I hadn't trained well. But I was hyped up. The very fact that with very little training, I could complete 42 kilometers, and that was the first race, and that was the Standard Chartered Mumbai Marathon.
Oh, wow.
And
So not an easy race.
not an easy thing. And I remember one of the chief guests at the expo, we have an expo,
Right.
you come 1 or 2 days before the race and collect your bib and timing chip
And all
and
the
all that thing.
information
So
and
that
everything.
time when I ran my first marathon, I met up with Shabana Azmi. She had come to the big, and I was a big fan of Shabana Azmi.
Childhood crush.
Yeah, I had a childhood crush on her, and I was just standing quietly with my hands folded and all, trying to get a glimpse of her and all. So she was coming near me, and she just looked at me and said that, what are you running and all? 10K? I said, ma'am, I'm running 42K. 42K? Have you trained for it? Not much. Have you done any races before that? No, not much. I ran at school, but not for the last 25, 30 years.
Wow.
She said, are you crazy or something? So I said, no, ma'am, I'm not crazy. I'm determined. I'll complete it. I know that much. All the very best and all that. Then, all these guys were thinking, what is Shabana's been talking? This guy's not a celebrity, nothing.
Yeah.
So that was in the bib collection. So next I got little hyped up. Okay,
Right.
Shabana's
Even more motivation.
I got motivated, For 5 minutes she spoke to me and all. So next I started the race and all that. I landed up with a good group, They were all guys who hadn't trained much. So basically we were running slowly and all. So the guy who was running with me told me that, very easy to complete a full race, Just keep walking. Just jog a bit and then take rest, walk, but don't stop.
Don't stop.
Yeah, walk, run. So we kept walk, run without training. Incredible thing. And took maybe my first marathon, I took 6.5 hours.
Wow.
6.5 to 7 hours and all that. So after I completed it, and they put wrap. It's a very big thing,
Yeah.
Those days you at the finishing line, they put a medal on around you and all. You feel you are in the Olympics and all that. And then you come and then they, if you don't qualify within that time limit,
Cut-off
so they
time.
still give you a certificate.
Of course.
And they say, no, those days it was manual,
Okay.
A manual certificate was given.
How old
and
were
all
you at that time?
That time I was 48 years old. That was my
48.
first race.
So when you say
after
you
a long
didn't
gap.
train, what exactly training did you do?
I used to do a little bit of running. I did about max 7-8 kilometers.
Really?
Yeah, max 8 kilometers. That to run walk.
So you did
Wow.
8
1 month
kilometers in
only.
training.
1 month of training, 7 to 8 kilometers. That's all. And I attempted 42K. That was how stupid I was at that time.
And age 48.
Yeah, for age 48, and just recovering from a 13 mm stone when I
surgery,
left
yeah.
kidney. And all this happened because the doc told me that you need to do exercise. And all. So basically, what he told me was, if you do exercise, you drink a lot of water, and you need to drink
Yeah.
a lot of water.
To keep this problem away,
Yeah.
because it's all salt getting
Yeah.
clumped in.
So when you ran, did you take any gels, any salts, anything?
Nothing. That time I didn't
Nothing.
even know
You
what a
didn't know
gel
what
was.
gel
There were no
was.
gels in India. That time, you had to
you have
get
to get
those
imported
things.
gel.
Imported
40K.
gel of GU gel, it was called.
Yeah,
or something.
It's still
40,
the
yeah, it's still
standard
there.
So
international
you're
standard.
64 years old right
Yeah,
now.
I'm 64 years old.
So 48 is which year then?
Yeah, 48, 2008.
12 plus
2008.
14,
2008.
26.
2008-9.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2008, I was 48 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
this
born in
is-
1960.
Okay, so
Yeah.
easy to.
Yeah, how
Very
many
sharp.
people were there? I guess now there's a lot of people
Yeah, that time
competing.
there
but-
were, I think that time we had 10K, half marathon, 42K. Standard in Mumbai Marathon.
Right.
That time it was known as Standard Chartered Mumbai
Yeah.
Marathon. Now it's known as Tata Mumbai
Tata,
Marathon.
yeah.
They took over. Sponsorship keeps
Yeah,
changing.
Yeah.
That time there were not much. There were, I think, just about 300 people who were running
The full marathon.
full marathon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just 300 of us. I completed the full race and all that. I remember when I came back, I was working in Mahad in Maharashtra. It's a small hamlet town. I was working in a board mill at that time. So I came back and nobody knew that
What it was.
I just told them that, see, because Mahad is very near to Bombay.
Okay.
So I told them I'm taking one day leave on Saturday, pushed off there, took my bib collection, ran on Sunday. Sunday night, I came by bus. I reached there at midnight and I was on duty on
Monday
Monday.
morning.
Nobody knew about it. I never wanted to tell anybody for the fear that if I can't complete it and all that. So the moment I came, ran full marathon, then Allah mach gaya wahan par. It was a small organization. So thing came to the chief executive. Then he came down personally. He called his PRO. Shook hands with me. He said, I'm not bothered about your timing or whether you got a timing certificate, nothing. He told the PRO, call the press people, get a good interview done. He used to call everybody kid because he was a 70-year-old man. That was the first time I saw my name in the papers also.
Wow.
So how difficult was it? Did you feel in the end that, I wish I
Actually,
had
that time I
trained
got really screwed up because my everything was
Knees,
paining.
hips, everything.
My feet were not swollen up or anything, but everything, my whole lower body was fully paining. Yeah. My wife, luckily for me, she may not have allowed me to run. She was with her parents. Mahad in Maharashtra, she was in Rourkela and Odisha.
So you went without her.
Without informing her, when I came back, I ran first full marathon. It's a race. No, it's okay. So, no, what's the distance? It's 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers. She wasn't very familiar with marathon. I said, for just 42 kilometers. She said, are you crazy? Gone bonkers? She never used any expletives, but fell short of that. Yeah. She said, that I wouldn't have allowed you to run if I was there. I said, thanks a lot. You're not, So it's okay. But by the time she came back, I was fully recovered.
You also knew she wouldn't have allowed you. You chose the timing accordingly.
I chose my timing accordingly.
So would you recommend anyone, because there's viewers watching, doing something like this?
No, I said, please don't be stupid. I say, train, start with a 10K, progress to a half marathon, and then do the full marathon. In fact, a very interesting book which I wrote when I was 59 years old, it was Crossing the Finish Line. It was a training manual for newbies who want to run a half marathon. So the training program, I designed it at the age of 59, was that you can basically run a 10K. If you read my book, train for 3 months. You can run a 10K. Yeah. If you train for 6 months diligently and follow my book, then you can run a half marathon. So that was my training period. So the next question said, how long does it take to train for a full marathon? I said, generally, after you run the 10K, progress to a half marathon, give it 2 years. Keep running for 2 years before doing a full marathon, then you can do it comfortably. Yeah. You can actually run a full marathon with even 1 year of training, but I don't recommend that. Because, see, when you are following your passion, do it comfortably. The marathon is not going to run away. It will always be there. So
makes sense.
Makes sense. Do things comfortably.
Did you seek any medical advice before going for the full
Not
marathon?
for my first race, no. Because, a doctor will say you are nuts. He say you are nutty, you are crazy. No doctor will say that without training 1 month of running 8 kilometers, you run a full marathon. So
no trainer will also say, no one will say actually. You yourself
even today, India is lacking those type of doctors who can actually advise you to take gels, not say, are you crazy, but to actually advise you, okay, if you're going to do it right.
At that time when I was running marathon, there were very few doctors who were running full marathons.
Of course.
So you couldn't get the right advice. And another reason was that nowadays you have a lot of doctors who are onto running ultras and
everything,
triathlons, Ironman. There are doctors who are doing it and all that. that time there weren't many.
Actually, we know one woman, lady doctor, who did the Ironman.
Okay.
She's from Bhopal only.
Okay.
And not just men doctors, but even women doctors are
a lot of amazing
getting ahead,
guys in
Yeah.
Bhopal. People say that Bhopal is an amazing place. I met a lot of interesting people because when I'll just shift over a little bit in mountaineering, there are a lot of guys who have climbed Mount Everest from Bhopal.
Yes.
Bhagwan Singh, then from MP, Ratnesh Pandey from Indore and Satna, then Ashish Singh, who did it last year. We did the basic course together.
Wow.
Yeah.
We even know one Dr. Bhavna only, right? It's Dr.
Yeah.
Bhavna.
Yeah, Dr.
She did it
Bhavna.
with her
Dr.
daughter,
Bhavna.
so she
Yeah,
got
yeah,
the
yeah.
record for the youngest.
Yeah. Her daughter, she climbed Mount Everest. And then she did the Everest base camp with her daughter, who set a record for I think she's 2 or 3 years old. She's the youngest person to complete
climb,
the basic, the base camp, Everest
Yeah.
base camp. Yeah.
So you finished the marathon then.
Then I
What was the
wanted
next?
to there was always things in my mind that do something new. I got an extension. My MD was so happy. So when the time came to retire, basically at the age of 60, you have to retire in our organization. So he said, stick with me for 1 year more. Yeah. So 1 year I went, and that was a time when I had COVID. I did an amazing thing. During 2020, as I told you, we had a 3-kilometer loop in our campus. And I started running on the rooftops because there was total lockdown. I started running the rooftops,
So it was connected rooftops.
Yeah, connected. So it's very difficult, So I actually ran a 10-kilometer on the rooftop.
It's like running
all
hurdles,
piping
almost
and,
hurdles.
a lot of dish antenna and pipings. I used to time
Wire
myself, I'll do a
cables
10K today. So hop and all those small area. I used
So
to
you
do
were
that.
getting plyometric workout also and running also.
Yeah, perfectly. And now coming to visual running. That was a time when virtual races started.
Right.
And in April 2020, I ran the first virtual race. I think that got a lot of write-up in the paper and all that. That the first virtual race I ran in April. Basically, it was for people, in virtual races, what you do is you have to register and you have to have a GPS watch. And after you run the race, you have to give the recording of the GPS watch to them. And they check it up and then they issue the certificate.
Right.
So I started running a lot of virtual races and I set a national record in a period of 9 months from April 1st to December 31st. In 2020, I ran 117 virtual races.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. It was recorded as a record.
Crazy.
Some agency said they gave me a certificate. I think it was Hope International.
Wow.
We are giving you the record and got a lot of publicity and all that.
So every 2.5 days almost.
Almost,
and and all the races were from 5 kilometers to 42K, not just 5 and 10. I ran half marathons, plenty. I ran one full marathon also in 2020. And that was the time when I was told that if you are going to run in that campus, you'll have to wear the mask. And I was the only guy running. So I said, what do I want to wear a mask for? There's nobody running with me.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll have some squirrels and dogs and cats running.
Protocol is protocol.
Yeah. And I'm running, imagine running a marathon means, and I'm going to do a job at reporting time was 8 o'clock. So on Sundays, of course, I used to run in the night, the full marathon. The other races I used to do during the week time and all. Because, mind you, even during the lockdown, in my organization in 2020, everybody enjoyed their life. Plant was shut, no production, no marketing. So they were all enjoying.
Paperwork catch up.
But I was in the corporate social responsibility CSR department and public image department. So CSR department became very active during the COVID time. So basically, we are supplying foodstuff to the 18 villages we had adopted. And all those things. So, and I just, in the entire 2020, when there was lockdown, there was, first lockdown, second lockdown, third lockdown. Modi ji's first said, Talia bajao, and everybody eating the plate and then lighting candles and all those things. So, but I only had 3 weeks relaxation for the entire year.
Wow.
I was on duty from 8 to 5. So I was doing my full-time job during COVID. I was doing my virtual running. I was actually running. And I was taking part in all these races and all that thing. You can imagine I had a very hectic but enjoyable life, following my passions also.
Coming back to you finished the Mumbai Marathon, then what was your next goal in the
so
short
what
term?
happened was, When I finished in 2008, we had something, a half marathon used to take place in October. It was called the Airtel Delhi Half Marathon.
Right.
That used to happen sometime in like October, November.
Yes. Yes.
The moment I ran the full marathon, my wife said, "What's next?" I said, "Half marathon," because I done my full marathon in January. I have enough time. 10 months I'll practice for half marathon. So she said, "For the first time in your life, you're talking sensibly." My wife and I were pretty, joke with each other
Right.
and all that. Another thing now, talking about my relationship with my wife and all that. She once told me something which struck with me all my life. She said, "भगवान ने मुझको भेजा है इस दुनिया में आपको बचाने के लिए. God sent me on this planet to save you." So basically, like what she told me is that, look, I'm not just your wife, I'm your mother also. Because you're doing a lot of crazy things in your life. So I have to now talk to you like your mother, not just like with your wife. So that was the type of relationship which I had with my wife, Very nice and very motherly type of lady. And she looked after me like from the first day of marriage till now. And I could do all these incredible stuff because of my wife also. That was there. I'm very much indebted to my wife. Extremely lucky. I always say that, if I'm born again, I want to have the same lady as my spouse. These
That's
are the
wonderful.
things.
That's really like.
नहीं, 7 जन्मों का रिश्ता वैसे ही.
Yeah, that's right. So that was the thing. So what happened? Then I started training for the half marathon.
Right.
So Airtel, then I got hooked into running basically.
But did you get a coach? How did you start that?
Yeah,
training?
see, the interesting thing is a lot of people ask me this question, even in interviews with newspapers and all that, on some TV interviews also. I never had a coach,
Ever.
The last coach I had was RP sir, Rajendra Pal Devgan in school, who used to teach English. So I was in the school athletics team. I got my school colors in athletics also. So he was my last coach in school. And he told me one piece of advice, I used to run short race. He said, you are suited for long distance running. So unfortunately, we don't have long races. The longest race was 5K.
Right.
But he said it's okay. For a 16-year-old, 5K is okay. But he said that in district sports, run the 9K in which you will be competing in the E category, that is all adults, with police, army, college students and all that. Run the 9 miles. So that is nearly 12K, I think.
Yeah, like
9
little
miles.
more, 14.
Yeah, 9
13,
miles.
14.
So that was the time, when I set a record in district sports by coming third. I got a podium finish in the 9-mile race as a 15-year-old.
So that must have been an open race.
Yeah,
like
that was
anyone can
open race.
run.
I tell you,
Yeah.
the first guy was from the army, the second, and mind you, army means Indian Military Academy.
Yeah.
So they are supposed to be at the peak of their
Officer,
fitness.
yeah, the best
and
of the
then the
best.
second guy was a police guy.
Wow.
And third was me. So I got a big clap that time in district sports. Everybody kept the fellow who was announcing went wild, yeah. So everybody stopped taking their coffee and tea, and everybody came to cheer me up there. It was a wonderful moment. So basically, I got hooked on to running after that. Airtel, then we kept on progressing. Then my first ultra marathon was in 2013 when I was 53 years old.
So 5 years from full marathon to ultra. And
Yeah.
just so we have said ultra marathon a lot, but I think
Yeah.
just to be clear, can you explain a little bit what is an ultra marathon?
The definition of ultra marathon is anything which is above 42 kilometers. So generally, you don't call a 46K a ultra. In the strict sense, anything above 42 is a ultra. Generally, it's like 50 kilometers,
Right.
then you have 60 kilometers. Generally, they have like 50, then they go to 60, 10 kilometers, then
Right,
70,
70.
80, then you have now 100, then you...
And then you
There's
have
no unlimited
there's
actually.
there's
Yeah.
comrades and this and
you
that.
have comrades,
is like,
90 kilometers and all that. Now that you mentioned comrades, very interesting story. I applied for comrades. Now, comrades said that to qualify for a race, you have to run the full marathon under 5 hours. So I ran under 5 hours 3 times. And my best timing in marathon was at the age of 57 when I ran the full marathon at 4 hours 38 minutes at the
Wow.
age of 57. Basically, I qualified for comrades 3 times. One time I paid that time you qualify is $16,000. So I trained well. Unfortunate part of comrades is you have to run the qualifying race 3 months or 4 months before the actual race,
Yeah,
which
within
takes
the
place
same
in
period,
May,
yeah.
month of May or so. So basically by March, April, January, you'll have to run a race. By January,
Right.
you have to run a marathon under 5K. So the preceding year, it was 4 hours, 40 minutes and all. I was very confident. And I said, I'm going to run comrade, registered for it. $16,000 I paid for it, 16,000 rupees. And I was training for it. And I said that I'll do the Kadunga event, which was another 72 kilometers in high altitude. So what happened while training for this ultra, it was bad luck. I pulled a muscle.
Oh,
I tore a muscle. I kept struggling. I said, doctor told me, first of all, total rest, not even 1 kilometer for 2 months.
wow.
So I lied to my physician. I said that, okay. After 1 month, I started testing myself. So the moment I tried to go above 3-4 kilometers, again the second
Feel it, yeah.
time, it won't work out. Then I kept, instead of secretly without telling my physician, I started discussing with a lot of guys, physiotherapists and all. They said, look, it's very bleak here. If you're going to run 80, 90 kilometers and you have to, mind you, do 90 kilometers within 12 hours.
Right.
So you are not in a position to run 10 kilometers. How are you going to train for ultras? I struggled. I said, no, I'll manage and all that. I ran the qualifying race in January. So I did it in beyond, it was, you have to do it
5
less
plus,
than 5.
yeah.
I did it in 5:10, 5:15. I just narrowly missed it, 5:10 also. Then what happened is, okay, that's fine. I missed it. Then I thought, another very interesting story which shows you if a human being is persevering, he can do something impossible. Extraordinary. I wanted to get my 16,000 rupees back. I checked on Comrades and all. I realized there was one clause which said that you can, for some reason, if you're not taking part, you can sell your bib number
To somebody.
and that fellow you charges, pays you $16,000 and it's a legal transaction and that fellow can do it. But that was only for South African citizens, not for those out of South Africa. I got that point. I started writing to them. Every week I wrote a letter to the director of Comrades saying that racial discrimination. Because I'm a black and all that. You're racially discriminating because I'm an Indian. For a South African, you are allowing that thing. Now I said, I'm giving you a doctor's certificate. I can't run. I sent that through mail. A doctor's certificate. I said, I can't run. So I want to sell my bib.
Right,
now you have some funny rule that it's there. I kept on saying racial discrimination. So that guy got fed up and all that. But he used to say, no, please don't use that word and all. I wrote to the website, the president of South Africa.
Wow.
I wrote to the sports ministry of South Africa. I got all this thing from the website. I was some crazy guy. That was at the time when I was 56, 57. So then I selected 6 newspapers from South Africa, which was English language newspaper. I kept writing to all the editors, look, racial discrimination going on in your country. What sort of a country are you? So I kept using that. I kept bombarding here. Look, I'm an Indian. Your country discriminating and it's Comrades Marathon and all that. So these guys also getting fed up here. Then what happened is again, they have something like a brand ambassador of
Comrades.
57 countries. I wrote to 57 country brand ambassadors. I'm being discriminated upon. That clause is not applicable to me. Again, it's racial discrimination and all. So the guys got cheesed up with me. They said, buddy, this fellow has become a nuisance for us. Then the ultimate thing, it went up to the director level of Comrades and all. He said that, what the hell are you talking about here? Then what I did is, I wrote to the Amateur International Athletic Federation. I got the email of the secretary who was the brand ambassador of Standard Chartered Mumbai Marathon.
Wow.
Who was a guy who basically set a record in London Marathon, which stood for 10 years or so.
Wow.
Then I wrote to him saying that, I also take part in the same marathons where you are the brand ambassador. He touched a chord with him. So this guy surprisingly first sent me an email. I'll talk to them. Mind your words. It's not racial discrimination. It's country discrimination. First of all, get your facts right. It's not racial discrimination. It's country discrimination. He wrote a letter to the director of Comrades. You won't believe it. I've got all these emails saved up because I'm going to write a novel about it.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
It's a great story.
Entire thing took all mails within 3 weeks. Finally, the director this fellow told the director, look, this guy, okay, you have to then change your rule, do something. So the guy he wrote to me, he said, I'm reimbursing all your expenses. To the nickel, you get your 16,000 rupees back. Just give me 3 days. I'm telling my IT guy, do the transfer, you'll get it in your bank. I used a credit card. So I got amazing stuff. They broke the rule and gave me the 16,000 rupees back. Just on that, about 1 month, I made guys crazy all over South Africa. I wrote to the secretary of the International Athletic Federation and a lot of effort and all. And it didn't actually have a lot of effort because I kept emailing guys.
And
but it's basically perseverance. So it's basically perseverance. So what I want to tell people who are listening to my podcast is that you can do amazing things in life. You be goal-oriented, just think positive. Nobody expected my wife and my family members flabbergasted. They said that 16,000 gone down the drain, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So wife said, you did something stupid. It's okay. 16,000 is gone, doesn't matter. I got the money back and everything. And then comrades made a rule subsequently and said that it's called substitution rule.
Right.
So it's called substitution
you
rule.
can substitute somebody, yeah.
That substitution rule the next year was made all around the world.
Wow.
Now, very few people know that substitution rule was changed for the whole country because of one guy called Sanjai Banerji from India. That's why I've kept all the records.
Yeah.
So this was an amazing stuff. I didn't run comrades. After that, then somehow didn't work out that. Yeah. But then I ran other ultras in India, Khadlunga Pass. One interesting
That's
point.
the highest ultra in the
that's
world.
the highest ultra. Now, there's a very interesting story in that race. When I first ran that race, what happened is there was the board of governors in our school. So I told the board of governors, Gautam Thapar, who was 1 year junior to me in school, he was in the same dormitory, but he was 1 year junior to me in school. I'm going to run the highest ultra and be one of the oldest people to run the ultra at the age of that time 58 or so. But I want one favor from you. I'm going to risk my life running the ultra marathon at the highest ultra in the world. That was dubbed as the highest ultra in the world, Khadlunga Pass Marathon, 72 kilometers. I want a boy from Ladakh to be admitted in the Doon school. His name was Stanzelin. That's an interesting story in which I ran that ultra. I didn't complete it that time. I didn't complete that pass, but Board of Governors, Gautam Thapar, was very impressed. He said that you select the boy from Ladakh, but he put a KVD emptor. Now he said that boy has to do reasonably well in the entrance exam, in which there are 4 papers, one in English, one in mathematics, one in general knowledge. So my wife and I went to Ladakh, spoke to the organizer, who spoke to around 15 schools in Ladakh, and they selected 15 students. And he said that you and your wife interview the student and select the student. I told my wife, you're a teacher, you handle it, boy. I'll sit in the interview thing, but you do interview the boy. We interviewed the boy and I got him selected and coached him through some other person, teacher. And finally, the boy got admission in school. Wow. So that was a big achievement for me, which I feel that's one of my crowning glories, that I got a boy admitted in Doon school. At that time, the fees, mind you, was about 10 lakhs a year.
Right.
And that basically means 6 years means 60 lakhs. Was waived off
by
the Board of Governors.
Full scholarship.
Only because I attempted the Khadlunga Pass Ultramarathon.
Wow.
Subsequently, I couldn't do that race actually, but I did above 40 kilometers. They gave me a certificate.
And they gave you the distance.
Yeah, they gave me a certificate because since I had done above 42, it was 46 kilometers. But that was a good experience.
Now we have heard about your experience in high altitudes and how difficult that was. Sadly, you didn't finish the 72, but you got the certificate for 46.
Yeah, about 46, yeah.
You're still an ultra runner in the highest altitude in the world. Now, after that, we also heard about you doing 80 kilometers in Rajasthan, in Jaisalmer, which is one of the hottest places maybe in India. At least for running, maybe I don't think anyone goes to any hotter place than that. So is that also known as the border marathon? Is that the same?
No, not border marathon. It's right in the middle of a desert. It's about 10 kilometers, I think 15 kilometers away from Jaisalmer.
Okay.
Right into the desert.
So what made you attempt that one? Yeah. What was the motivation?
What happened is this I ran in 2016 around December 2016, where in Jaisalmer the temperature fluctuates a lot. It's very cold at night and very hot in the afternoon. So basically I did it in around 80 kilometers in 12 hours.
80 kilometers in 12 hours?
12 hours. And we started very early in the morning at around 6 a.m. and completed it in 6 p.m.
Wow.
So that race was incredible. Again, I was the oldest person to complete that race. It's very difficult to run a desert marathon for the simple reason there are times when you run the race, you realize that your entire feet is filled with sand.
Okay.
And that bogs you down. Yeah, you're running right through the sand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so sometimes you are ankle deep in sand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, after some time, you'll have to open your shoe, take out the sand.
Right.
And all
Reset.
that. Yeah, we all did it. But that is one of the things, another record, Basic
so one
course,
of my
then
biggest
of this.
curiosities when we talked about this before also was how the financial aspect of mountaineering. I think it's not easy, not anyone can just afford to do the course or go to all these places.
The courses, fortunately, if you do it from these 6 recognized courses, that is funded by state governments and central government. So it's only about 22,000 max.
Okay.
So 22,000 for the
Even
entire
today.
29 days course, and that includes your boarding, lodging, your rental of equipment and all that. At sometimes you are even carrying 1 lakh worth of equipment with you when you are doing this course and all that. But it's all highly subsidized, so that is not a problem. If you are planning to do mountaineering, it is expensive because any
Now you
sort
have
of
to get the
peak and all
equipment
that.
yourself.
I even attempted noon, but we backed out at the last moment. That is 7,000 meter.
Okay, that
Yeah,
technical one. Yeah.
No, before Kilimanjaro I had attempted, but the problem there was not because I couldn't do it, but because we are just out of 7 people, only 3 people were left in the end, and my other 2 colleagues couldn't. They were finding difficulties, so the team leader said that, look, just for you, I'll have to take the porters, everybody and all, but still I'll do it. But I said no, I'll back off because
Yeah, be sensible
other
about
two,
it.
there's no point here. So I backed out and all that. So that was before Kilimanjaro and after doing the basic course. So that's why for Kilimanjaro I was well prepared.
Right.
I was well prepared.
You had some practice.
Yeah,
you
I had a lot of
everything,
practice. Yeah, I did 4 hours.
And this time you took a
trekking and
bigger
all.
group, so if you
Yeah,
have
the big
anybody
group
fall out,
and-
then
yeah,
no,
yeah.
we are going.
I did 5 hours of walking with the pole.
Wow.
Because you have to have that pole. Your hand has to be perpendicular,
Right. The
a 90-degree
forearms and
angle,
everything
and
has to
you have
be
to keep
very-
use that pole, trekking poles and all that. So I practiced for months. So I was well prepared for Kilimanjaro. Now coming to the expense part, it is expensive.
For Kilimanjaro.
Kilimanjaro, I funded myself. Frankly, everything included, it came to 2.8 lakhs. So that was my savings and all. So I do a little bit after retirement, work from home. So I actually saved up money for this. It didn't come out of my savings, earlier savings.
No, you're saving for mountaineering.
Yeah, for savings for mountaineering. I worked from home and
Right.
gathered the thing. So my next plan is to do Elbrus, which is the highest part of the highest point of Europe.
Mount
Mount Elbrus, that is in Russia.
Okay.
So that's my next one. So again, I'll work from home and save up money and go.
So a very sort of a dummy sort of a question in terms of
Yeah.
mountaineering. So how much, so for example, when we spoke of Kilimanjaro, how much of it was sort of, like one can imagine as general trekking, and how much was where you had to actually use equipment and
Like the real mountaineering training was coming
actually,
into play.
Kilimanjaro, in spite of the fact that only 60% people make it, this was a study conducted in 2006. They said that only 60 to 65% make it. Now, it's basically not climbing, it's trekking.
So it's not very technical.
No, it's not technical. What I mean to say is trekking.
Yeah.
Now, the first question that comes to your mind is that if it's trekking, how is it that so few people make it? The reason is because you have to complete that within a certain duration.
Right.
And if you're not acclimatized, you have some problem. Because the entire thing about high altitude climbing is that you have to be acclimatized properly. So it doesn't mean that you put in a lot of hours in the gym or you're doing a lot of running and all. You have to have excellent cardiovascular fitness and something in your metabolism which suits you for
Right.
high altitude. Sometimes it genetically it comes to you or you have to train for it.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I trained for it because I used to do this
High
Khandunga Pass,
altitude
high
runs,
altitude running.
you did your
So
training
basically, if you can run at that high
practice.
altitude,
Yeah.
you should be able to manage. So that was my plus point for being able to successfully climb and summit Kilimanjaro.
But do you also feel that maybe more people attempt Kilimanjaro because it's technically simpler?
Yeah.
So like a lot of
that
novice
attracts a lot.
type
There's some,
of
I told you,
people,
some
like-
magical aura, and because it's not very technical, it's basically more of trekking than climbing. There are some steep areas, but you can do it with trekking poles. You don't need crampons,
Right.
unless of course it snows very heavily and all.
Of course.
But relatively, it's less of climbing and a more of trekking.
Because I've actually had friends in New York
Yeah,
who
yeah.
have done
Who
as
have done,
trekking
yeah.
groups. They go with
They
their
go
trekking
and-
group. They have no mountaineering experience,
no.
but they go with their group.
There was one girl who actually
Attempt.
hardly had any experience in mountaineering at all.
Right. And she managed
And
to
she
finish.
managed, but she was in bad shape.
Right.
She had to be carried off in a stretcher after the summiting.
Oh no.
While coming down, there were
Oh.
2 girls who had to be carried in a stretcher for a certain time, and then they became okay. But they had successfully submitted.
Maybe some altitude sickness or something.
So you take some medication to get used to the altitude?
No, I don't.
What about the others? Did they?
In my group, I didn't see anybody taking unless they were doing it without informing others.
Yeah.
Because the team leader told me that he was a retired Lieutenant Colonel, Kargil war veteran. So he told us that, look, try and avoid anything. But if the doctor says medication, you take it, but otherwise don't take any stuff like people take caffeine and all that. But he says it can backfire actually.
Yeah. Talking about all these challenges, I think from the age of 48 till you're 64 now.
Till now.
I think almost year by year, you have just gotten more challenging goals in life. It just seems like, I can't even imagine most of the things you have done. I can't even imagine doing now, and I'm almost half your age. So how does your family deal with it? Like, does their blood pressure also go up along with your challenge going up?
My wife has got used to it. She said that I've lived with you for almost 34 years, so I've got used to it now. She said nothing surprises me. Now you'll say something like you want to parachute at a high altitude or look at paragliding and all.
I'm prepared.
I'm prepared and all. She always seen me. I'm a scuba diver, by the way.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I also do scuba diving. I've got some videos also. So what I'm trying to say is that now she said nothing ceases to amaze me. And my relatives, they are still astounded and all. They're coming to grips. They said that we just don't know what you're going to do next and all, and we are worried for you. So I told them you don't need to be worried. And two people who are very important to me is my wife and my son. So my son also said, Papa, go ahead. Don't worry. I have full confidence in you. You don't have to worry. The way you train, the way you have spent running in the nights, ultras, the way you are doing your mountaineering. So I'm pretty sure you are capable and you'll be able to do whatever you want. And what my son said that he told me that is that you're very careful and you always take a very informed decision about what you do in life. That's something that my son told me, that see, you don't take a erratic decision, I'm like, I want to do that. You prepare yourself well and do what you want to do. Everything, whatever you've done, running or your mountaineering, you're well prepared. So that was reason. And really, a lot of my relatives still say now, don't you think you are pushing yourself too far? I said, no. I tell them that you say, am I pushing myself too far? I say, my best is yet to come.
Right.
My answer is my best is yet to come.
Very well said.
No, and I feel you can say to them also, right, that don't you feel you're pushing yourself too far, just eating and sitting and doing nothing? Like that's also pushing. That's the other extreme of this. Is most people are just eating more sweets, more heavy ghee, butter stuff.
The biggest problem about people are even young people are getting all these lifestyle diseases at the age of 27, 28.
Absolutely.
I'm appalled. Yeah. They're getting cholesterol problem, triglycerides, high blood pressure, diabetes before they are 30.
I think hypertension and high blood pressure have become much more common nowadays.
It's all due to unhealthy lifestyle, fast food. You have to pay heat and obesity. You have to maintain your body mass index. These are things, wherever I give lectures, like I've given lectures in 2 IITs in Mumbai and Indore. So I've told the students there that you must get wise to your lifestyle while you're studying. Because don't make those mistakes which people have done in our generation.
Right.
Maintain your body mass index, indulge in sports activities, have a proper diet.
So it's great that you bring up the lectures because so you've also gone from first being a professional. Okay, let's start from first being an amazing student, then being a professional and a student, then being a runner, a mountaineer, a scuba diver. Now you're also an educator because you're writing books, you're giving lectures, interviews, everything. So let's touch a little bit upon your journey as an educator now. What motivates you to write?
I've written 4 major books. The first book was written in 2019 at the age of 59. I wrote a book, Crossing the Finish Line. It was basically a handbook for couch potatoes and newbies to running. I made a training program and I explained a lot of subjects in detail, like sleep, hydration, vitamins, training program, the type of shoes you should wear for running. There are 6 different types of shoes you can actually choose.
You should have a rotation.
Yeah, because I remember in my school days that I was running with canvas shoes. I was running 9 miles.
Bata canvas shoes.
Bata canvas shoes. So we have come a long way from then. Now the technology has changed in running. You need to have gels. You need to have proper hydration technique, your nutrition and all that. If you know that Milkha Singh also started running barefoot initially. He used to run 400 meters barefoot. Then somebody told him, look, you need spikes and I'll get used to it.
Right.
So these were the things. So basically, I wrote my first book in 2019. It was about running, that you can run within 3 months. You can run a 10K, and within 6 months you can run a half marathon. So that was my book. My second book was on mountaineering, based on the syllabi of the basic mountaineering course. And I have some good news that is being discussed by the Indian Mountaineering Foundation to become a study material for all BMC students. Yeah. It's not yet confirmed, but I got a call from the director last week that he's put it up with his panel. If it gets through, that will be a very big achievement for me as an author. That technical book written on mountaineering, which is going to be read by all the students of the basic mountaineering course as well as the advanced one.
By someone who started it at the age of 61.
At the age of 61. And my third book was a series of articles which I wrote for a magazine, a digital magazine called Finisher Magazine during the COVID time in 2020. So there are about 21 articles. So I got it condensed in a book form, and that came out also.
That is when you finished 113 races.
After finishing 117
months,
races.
17.
Yeah, that was another national record. So that book has a very catchy title and a little gruesome type of title. It's a Nobody Dies Tonight. So the first thing everybody says that, why did you have this title? I said I wrote it about how to stay fit during the COVID era. That is 2020, 2021. This book was published in 2021. So Nobody Dies Tonight means nobody needs to die tonight.
Right.
If you follow a proper lifestyle, basically. So, and even if you see the people who got affected by the coronavirus is basically people who are not very fit. They had some sort of ailment and all that. And the people, like, if you had a good pair of lungs, a good heart, cardiovascular fitness and all, you could survive.
Yeah. Even if they got the COVID, there wasn't much change in the lifestyle.
I got COVID. I was put under a 15-day quarantine.
Right.
My wife, myself and my son. And nothing happened. We went to that
Fit and
15-day quarantine. I was fine. The funny joke was sort of registered for a virtual race. During that time when I was in quarantine, inside my house, I ran 3 kilometers.
Wow.
While I was recovering from COVID, I ran 3 kilometers inside the house just to complete that virtual race. I got a certificate with a GPS watch. I gave them the timing. I said, I'm giving you I ran 3 kilometers in so and so time. It took me about an hour inside my house in that bedroom and to run. It took me 1 hour to run 3 kilometers, which I normally do in 20 minutes.
So book number 3 was Nobody Dies Tonight.
Nobody Dies Tonight, which was translated into Hindi. And all my books are available in Flipkart, Amazon, Google Books. Some of my books have also come out in Google Books in digital and audio format also.
Wow.
And now coming to my fourth book, I would call it my magnum opus.
Yeah.
Again, a record set for the first author in the world to write a fictional narrative on the creation of Gurkhaland, which occurs sometimes at a futuristic date on 30th December 2024. And the book was out on the last week of December because I wanted it to be qualified for an award in 2024, which can only happen if your book gets published before 31st December. I told the publisher, I want this book to be published before 31st December. Do whatever you want. They got it published. They brought it out on 23rd December. I got an award for the book in the Kolkata Literary Carnival, which took place sometime in February this year.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is a record. Again, I state that the first author to write a book on Gurkhaland, which takes place in a futuristic date.
And I heard that's been translated into 3 languages.
Yeah, it's been translated into 4 languages. The original book is in English. It has been translated into Nepali and Filipino, German and French.
Wow.
And his book is doing well. And I have been invited to give a talk show in Delhi in the month of May.
So why Gurkhaland?
See, the reason why I wrote on Gurkhaland, which I feel is the story happened because I was running with a Gurkha runner. She's from Darjeeling, or rather she's from a place close to Kalimpong, a very small hamlet town called Penang, not confused with the lake.
Right.
It's a
So
town
it's
near
close to Sikkim,
Kalimpong.
that area.
No, it's in West Bengal, bordering Sikkim.
Yeah.
But it's in West Bengal.
Kalimpong.
Near Kalimpong.
Okay.
Yeah, she's even in,
Okay.
now we had the big city Darjeeling, then you have a smaller town called Kalimpong, then another village-like
Hamlet
area.
kind of.
Hamlet. So she was from that hamlet, close to Kalimpong. So she used to run with me. We had run a lot of marathons together and all. For obvious reasons, I'm not mentioning her name because I didn't mention it in the book also. Because she said that if you're going to write about me in the book, don't mention my name.
Yeah.
No. I
It
said,
can
fine.
be controversial.
It can be
that
controversial
subject
and all
isn't.
that, yeah. Especially she's slightly involved with the Gurkhaland issue
rebellion.
also. Yeah. So I changed her name and all that. So I wrote about her basically, and I used to talk to her. She used to talk about Gurkhaland and all that and everything. So, it's a warrior class of people who are very disciplined. And because of their discipline, they are not being able to attain their objectives. Because fighting in the war, and basically whenever there's a war, the people who get killed and are returned in body bags are the Gurkhas or the Ladakhis or the people from Northeast.
Sikhs.
Most of the soldiers who get killed are these guys. From 3 areas. I'm being very specific.
Wow.
I'm being recorded, so I'm making it very official. Most of the soldiers die from Garhwal area or Northeast, Gurkhas, and from the Ladakh side. They're the soldiers who actually sacrifice their life. And most of the sacrifices are by the Gurkhas. Because they are the guys who are very brave, very strong. They go right headlong, armed battle, hand-to-hand battle, unarmed combat and all these armed combat. They do it, So I used to feel sorry for that. When I said that you have sort of states like Jharkhand, tribal areas, you say, no, it's a tribal area, we want Jharkhand. You want something, you have Chhattisgarh. You want the hill people, you have Uttarakhand. So I said, then if you are having Uttarakhand, you are having Chhattisgarh, you are having Jharkhand, then why not Gurkhaland? What are they saying? That we just want a small portion of West Bengal. I think it's perfectly legitimate. Why on earth did you divide even Andhra Pradesh into Telangana? What was the reason? Because somebody went on strike for months together and said, I want Telangana. What was the reason of Telangana and Andhra? There was no difference. They just said there was some more minerals in there. Come off it. Just because you have some more minerals in one area, you don't go for statehood.
It's totally economics based and not even like
reality so it doesn't make
based.
sense. So you have so many states. Why not Gurkhaland? So that was the reason I wrote this book. Because I know the Gurkhas are very polite. I told the girl that, look, the problem with politics is dirty. And the problem is that, she recently converted into Buddhism and she's a pure vegetarian and all those things. So I said that, look, you are not made up to fight for statehood because you're innocent. So I felt sorry for her and that was the reason I wrote the book.
Wow.
It's a little bit merged with it's fiction and non-fiction. It's a fictional narrative,
Inspired
but a lot of the things
reality.
inspired by that girl. And I put my heart and soul onto it. And to make it interesting, I made a lot of elements like political intrigue, global espionage. I involved the Ukraine-Russian war. I even towards the end of the book, when Gurkhaland actually happens on 30th December 2024, that is this year end, which was the 107th birth anniversary of a Gurkha soldier who was actually living. Wow. But I wrote, since it's a fictional narrative, he got the Victoria Cross and he would have been 107 years on 30th December. So it's very interesting. The romance, there's passion. It's very interesting book to read.
So sir, I think that covers the biggest or the main parts of our interview.
I had a question.
Yeah.
So if there's someone out there, of say around say 50s or 60s who feels that they haven't had much adventure, but somehow stepping out as well, trying to do some of the things that you have, they find it difficult. What would you tell them?
I would say that definitely if you are above 50 and you want to go in for running and mountaineering and perhaps even scuba diving and all that, there's nothing wrong. But train well for it and take precautions because you don't know what will happen. So you need to be very informed and take a logical decision on that. And most importantly, train well. Because even when I was doing scuba diving, I used to notice, because I had a mustache, that
the mask wasn't fitting properly.
The water used to leak in and all that. So I used to tell them, give me something which presses hard the nose piece. So these are the precautions which you have to take in life and all that. And you have to train well and all that. Don't just one fine morning like me, which I did. I even admit now it's very stupid of me to train for 3 weeks to run 42 kilometers. That was my first race.
Your first and only mistake. So you can be forgiven that one.
First and only mistake. Yeah.
But since then you have written books, so you have really become like not just educate yourself, but you have surpassed.
I was very fortunate that because of the books I've written, I've been called by very reputed, renowned educational institutes, give a talk. I feel deeply privileged for that. Yeah.
So, sir, other than that, like, what's one of the things I would like to touch upon is during this whole journey, I'm sure you have two bonuses, let's say, because the journey is, of course, about fitness and yourself, but you get to see a lot of the world and you get to meet amazing people.
Yeah.
So what are some stories you can share from those? Like, did you ever think you would travel to these places you have been to?
Yeah, because running marathons in Singapore and Kuala Lumpur, I never thought of it. And I could never afford to do that. So I'm grateful to my organization who actually made me a brand ambassador for running and things like that, all this amazing stuff which I used to do and all that. So I got a lot of encouragement from my company. It's Prism Johnson Limited in Satna. It's a cement plant. It's a part of the Raheja group and MD was Vijay Agarwal. So he sponsored me and, I also say that corporates, if you have an employee who's showing so much of enthusiasm in the fitness field, they should be sponsored. I think I welcome this move. I wish more corporates, sort of inculcate this fitness culture in their organizations and sponsor them if they want to run marathons and do some extraordinary things in their life. So this is something which I hope, because otherwise financially it's not possible. And as my journey in running in these countries, yes, I did make some very good friends and all that, and they are, we are in social media and all that. They're from various countries. They're from Indonesia, Philippines, Singapore, US, UK. I've got a lot of fan following from a lot of countries because of some of the stuff which I have done in my life.
Accolades.
Yeah. So yes, I did make a lot of friends in other countries, and I got a good fan following, and even in India also. And really grateful for the support which I get on social media also. And basically, when you have a fan following, it sort of instills something in you here. Okay, let's do something new and all that, And you feel very comfortable and cool. And basically, I'm a very cool person. Now, if you see my hands also, I've got tattoos also.
Yeah.
So I was also considered a cool guy, This
so
is
what's the story behind the lion?
The lion tattoo. This is a lion, and this is a tigress.
Wow.
So this is a good tigress because the eyes are blue. If you have red eyes, it means a bad tigress.
Okay.
This is a good tigress, positive tattoo, and this is a lion. Now the story behind this, there is a combination of tattoos which a person normally has or which is advised. Now the lion stands for being your guardian. So typically it's your father who's your guardian. The tigress is signifying your mother and is basically the protector. The tigress protects you in your life. The lion is your guardian. And I'm planning at the age of 70 to have another tattoo. That's my third tattoo. Is going to be the eagle. Eagle is your best friend. Again, this left arm is for the female tattoo, female animals. And this is for, the right hand is for the men. It can be male animals. So the tigress
more strength and more, right is about
guidance.
strength.
And this is for your protector and your best friend. It basically implies your wife.
Right.
Your best friend, generally it's your wife,
Your
is your best
closest
friend.
partner.
So this is going to be there. At the age of 70, I'm 64.
So you're going to
Yeah,
get
I'm going
that
to put
tattoo.
it when I'm 70.
That is also an adventure because people would say at this age you
No,
want
and
to get
people
tattoos.
stop setting goals. You're already planning, okay, by 70, I'm going to get a tattoo.
This tattoo the tigress tattoo took me 4.5 hours. This took me 6 hours. This took me 6 hours.
When did you get these?
This I got about 4 years back. This was 10 years back.
Okay, so pretty.
From Bombay.
Recently.
Proper.
Yeah, recently.
It was an AC room. It was like an operation theatre. It was like I was in an operation room, AC room, and there was a big sort of thing. A chair which could slant back. I put my arm on this thing, and the guy kept working on it and all that. Both are a little painful, so I don't advise people take an informed decision before doing tattoos. Yeah.
I had another question. How many times in your life have you not listened to the doctor's advice?
Quite a few times.
Okay, give me a percentage.
I generally, it's amazing, and 60% of the time I don't listen to the doctors. And that's why I've been able to do amazing stuff in my life. Because if I'd listened to them, I wouldn't have started running at this late age. I wouldn't have done mountaineering.
Basically, none of the things that we discussed.
None of the things, no scuba diving, nothing. The doctors always tell me,
you'd probably be taking more medicines.
Don't give me more medicine and all that.
I love that because almost in everyone that we've interviewed for this, we asked them this question, and most of them said that they generally did not listen to the doctor's advice.
That's why 60 or maybe 70%. I don't
because how can the doctor advise that you do that? I mean, they could say that with precautions, but a lot of them say just don't do it.
No, because a lot of doctors advised me against running marathons, but I told them the simple fact. I said, have you even run 5 kilometers? So they said, no, we haven't. Then I said, how do you give me advice? See, how can you give me advice whether to run 42 kilometers when you yourself have not run more than 2 or 3 kilometers? Then they used to keep quiet.
Thank you. You said that. We're definitely. I think this shot will be a hit.
That's
100%. Amazing. Love that.
So,
no, seriously.
Yeah.
Anything
So have you found the fountain of youth? Like, what is the secret here? What is your, how is, this is like almost, for anyone watching, I feel they'll be like, unbelievable. Like, what's going on here?
You're clearly reverse aging.
With so many medical problems. Because I always think, if I didn't have these 4 medical problems, I could have done some really more
you would be
adventures.
doing the World Explorers Challenge and all of those things, like North Pole, South Pole,
actually,
Equator, everything.
I actually planned amazing at the age of 61 or 62. If I didn't have the medical problem, I would have attempted Mount Everest, the highest peak in the world. I would have done it because I told you that when I was doing the basic course, a friend of mine who was in my room, he did it last year.
It was his goal
from
and he
MP.
just did it.
Yeah,
right.
he's from Satna. He did it. He's Ashish Singh. He did it at the age of 31. So basically, he told me that let's do it together. You know. You set your record and I'll also do it. You know.
No, I'm sure you would have done all 7 peaks.
Yeah.
Like you would have become the oldest
yeah.
person to do all 7 peaks in the Explorers Challenge,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I have a plan, but not all 7, maybe all 4 of them. Yeah. But as I said,
But what is the
mountaineering
secret?
expensive. The secret is basically, is very simple. Basically, people will find it very funny actually. When I say that you have a normal diet here. Don't go for some high funder diet. Don't have fast food. Avoid lot of sugar in your diet. Have at least 8 hours of sleep every day. Exercise regularly. What do you mean by exercise? I say a simple thing. In a week, at least do 45 minutes of walking 4 to 5 times a day. And that is the advice which I give everybody. And try to maintain your body mass index. See, if you basically maintain your body mass index, do 45 minutes of walking 4 to 5 times in a week, have normal diet, not fast food, and plenty of sleep. That's the secret of youth. It's very simple. Now people will say that, it's very simple to do this. We are all doing it. I said, no, you're not doing it.
Right.
That's the problem with today's youth. That's the problem with all of us. We indulge with less sleep. We indulge ourselves with all fast food. We are having French fries and McDonald's,
Sugars,
KFC chicken, fried stuff, everything. And we are not following the simple thing. The elixir of youth and the reversal of old age is very simple. But people don't follow that, which our forefathers used to do, our grandfather used to do. What did our grandfathers and all do? Basically, if you see, what were they doing? They were having the dal, chawal, rajma.
Good
Every
sleep.
day. They used to eat ghee. They were very healthy. Of course, there were other problems like it was a come up, like pollution and all that, which was not there at that time.
And just plastic in our waters and all.
Yeah, plastic bottles and all that.
Yeah,
So,
I guess the quality of food that's available now. That's what my wife always says it.
adulterated.
Too adulterated.
Adulterated, the vegetable people put injection and all.
Yeah, the quality of food
Quality
that
of
we
food
get
has
now.
deteriorated like anything.
So you gave a lot of advice in terms of physically what we need to do. Mentally, what would you say? Because how much of it is mental, you reckon, or not
Mentally, you have to be very strong if you want to achieve your physical goals. You have to be extremely strong mentally. And mental discipline is equally important in life as well as physical discipline. See, if you're not mentally strong, you can't do the physical stuff. You can't run a marathon if you're not sort of mentally strong. So to help you in being mentally strong in your lifestyle or in your life, you need to make small goals in your life. Basically, you have to make some goal that within 1 year, I want to do this. Within 3 years, I want to do this. In 5 years, I want to do this. Make short-term goals, mid-term goals, long-term goals. So that will make you do the stuff which you want to do, basically. That's the secret. Right?
So basically the secret is to have a habit of setting and achieving goals. And then you can incrementally increase those goals.
Keep
So like you started with a small marathon, then an ultra marathon, then a mountain.
Yeah, it's very simple.
Now you want to do 4 mountains. And
Make those goals and go around achieving them. Take precautions in life and eat well, sleep well. It's very simple actually.
and be positive.
Be positive always.
Yeah.
I think that's a good note to conclude. Thank you very much, sir. This was amazing. And
No,
I can't imagine getting a more inspiring story, really.
I want to thank you very much for calling me down here and to Vamos for having done this podcast. I'm deeply privileged. I'm very happy to be here.
No,
Thank you very much for your time. And clearly, you have demonstrated how to reverse age.
अगर आपको ये एपिसोड पसंद आया तो प्लीज़ लाइक एंड सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलिए और हमारे दूसरे ऐसे ही एपिसोड्स देखने के लिए यहाँ क्लिक कीजिए और चैनल को फॉलो ज़रूर कीजिएगा.